What's up, nerds? It's your boy, coming to you live from Site B on a lovely spring morning this Tuesday morning, the 28th day of March 2023. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning here. It's about 63 degrees and sunny and gorgeous, so stop listening to me and go outside. And guess what? We have more news from the little engine that never stops being annoying. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. This movie isn't technically out yet, and I'm already exhausted. I mean, I was exhausted in August about people talking about this movie, and I'm even more exhausted. Like, every time somebody brings something up about this movie, it decreases the chances that I'm ever going to go see it. So we've got more news coming out from Honor Amongst Thieves. First, regarding financials, and second, regarding expectations. So let's go with the one that actually matters. As of today, it is being predicted that Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves will make about 20 to 30 million over opening weekend, which you would think is a lot of money. But in reality, in Hollywood terms, on a spring weekend during spring break, no, it's not. And realistically, let's face it, it's probably not going to make 30 million. Any chances it had of making that much money were ruined when Amazon and Hasbro and Paramount released the screenings early with the special Amazon ticket screening thing that was all last week. So all that opening weekend money, a huge chunk of it just went away. And now, while Hasbro, in their infinite use of using Steiner math, will say, well, we made this much money and this much money, and it counts together to make this much money. Actually, the way the trades work is no, opening weekend box office is completely separate than anything else you make before the film or anything else you make after the film. And opening weekend box office is the barometer by which the industry judges the successfulness of the film going forward, and if it has legs to continue on after a week, 2 weeks, a month. I mean, how long will Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves stay in the theaters? Are people even still going to the theaters? And while you might be thinking to yourself, $20 million, that's a lot of money. Realistically, it's probably going to make more like 10 to 15 million opening weekend. If it's lucky, maybe even like Black Adam, 8 million. And so that's not a lot of money. And if Hasbro is expecting this movie to break $1 billion, I think they're going to be disappointed. If it's lucky, it might gross 100, 200, maybe even 400 million, not counting overseas, not counting, and that's counting pay-per-view video at home, but not counting overseas. Overseas, it could make as much as 600 million. But 1 billion? Yeah, there's no way this is making 1 billion. So that's the first financial story. That's something that actually matters towards Honor Amongst Thieves. Now we go again to the continuing argument that is bladderasting. I just made up a new word. Bladderasting. I don't know what that means, but I made up a new word. Bladderasting the interweb and how accurate the movie is to Dungeons and Dragons. And this week, it's the party had no dedicated healer. The party had no dedicated healer. That's a complaint. Well, I mean, if we look at the character record sheets, actually, it had 3 characters capable of doing healing. It had a druid. They have healing magic. Actually, pound for pound in D&D 5th edition, druids are better healers than clerics. They had a paladin whose very first power is lay on hands. And they had a bard who gets cure light wounds and inspiration as bardic abilities. Plus, going by the character record sheets, every single one of them have over 100 hit points. Over 100 hit points. So, when you have over 100 hit points in D&D physics, yeah, your combat damage is going to not really be that effective. Plus, this is Dungeons & Dragons physics, 5th edition physics, which means they had short rests, long rest, and all the other things that are ingrained into the 5e engine to make sure player characters never actually get hurt. But more importantly, in regards to this movie is not accurate to Dungeons and Dragons. This movie is not accurate because they didn't have a dedicated healer. So how did they survive all those fights? Let's just encapsulate this with the fact that it's a movie. It's not a documentary. Nothing in this movie is real. It's a movie. It is not accurate to the real world. Hey, here's something that's going to mind blow you. Every single solitary space science fiction film you've ever seen is wrong. Is wrong. And do you know why it's wrong? Because all those great space scenes when you hear the zoom and the blasters and everything, the opening scene in Star Wars would not happen. Not accurate. Because, wait for it, there is no sound in space. So every single solitary space movie you have ever seen is wrong. In reality, this is what a space battle would sound like. So yeah, not accurate. The party didn't have a dedicated healer. It's a movie! Unless the character's wound is important to the story or is trying to be realistic to the horrors of war like World War II movies. Yeah, when do you see healing in films? When do you see damage accurately being recorded? John Wick? I mean, the first movie alone, look what happens to the guy. And he's like, oh, well, they blew up my house. Well, I got the crap beaten out of me. Well, my dog's dead. I am going to go on a vengeance-fueled rampage and defy the laws of physics, nature, and common sense for an hour and a half. Every single solitary thing that happens to John Wick in the very first movie should have killed him. But he doesn't because he's John Wick and it's not accurate. So there's no dedicated healer. How did they survive the entire movie? Because it's a movie. Get over it. You have literally ruining any goodwill this film has had is being ruined by the people who claim they love this film. 5e players who are like, this is the best movie ever made, but they had no dedicated healer. They had 3 dedicated healers. They all had over 100 hit points. They all had short and long rests. They all had magic items. And it's a movie. It's a movie. Once again, it's a movie. It's not a documentary. It's not real. Nothing in this movie is real. D&D is a game. It's not real. Now we can then move on to the kids from the cartoon show being in this movie, but that's a whole separate article. Are as you exhausted about this movie as I am? I mean, I was already like, in August about this movie. I wasn't planning on seeing it in August. And then when the January crap happened, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to see it. And now I'm just like, dear God, this movie feels like it's painful. It is going to be painful to watch because so many people are finding so many things wrong with it. Is it a bad movie? No. I never said it was going to be a bad movie. I'm sure it's perfectly fine because it follows a tried and true established formula. Is it a great movie? No. Is it going to beat Lord of the Rings as the greatest fantasy film ever? No. Is it accurate to the physics of the game? No. Is it accurate to real life physics? No. Get over it. We should focus on the more important things like whether it will make box office or not, and whether it will make the $1 billion that Hasbro expects it to make or not. Not stupid stuff like they don't have a dedicated healer. That's because that's just dumb. What are your thoughts on Honor Amongst Thieves? Where do you stand today? Are you still going to see it? Are you not going to see it? Are you already exhausted over this movie like I am? A week from now, will we still be talking about this? God, I hope not. I'm the OG Jim. Let me know what you think. And while you're thinking that, let me take a moment to like, share, subscribe. Help me reach 2,000 subs by the end of the year. And remember that this is my job. So if you're feeling generous if you're feeling a little pity for me that I have to dredge through this Honor Amongst Thieves muck, maybe consider supporting me. And the best way to do that is to head on over to Big Geek Emporium and buy my merch, the Minions on a Mission Adventure series. Yeah, or you could toss some, coin to your Richer through the Ko-Fi, or through the PayPal, or through the Patreon, who someday I might put something on. But yeah, what are you thinking about Honor Amongst Thieves? I am exhausted. I am over this movie. And I haven't even seen it yet. It's literally reached the level of pulling teeth. It's like, oh my God, just stop. Talk to you later.